Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome to Boogeyman Radio.
How's it going, everybody? Hope everybody had a fantastic day. Dave, are you ready for this?
I am pretty ready.
Me too.
Not as ready as I probably should have been, but there's a lot going on the last 5 days there's been a lot going on, so yeah.
Well, that's fair. Now, yesterday in Kansas City it was like 85-ish, so It was warm. It was really warm yesterday, and our air conditioner was struggling. But you know what? I'm sure some people felt like they were going to spontaneously combust. But hey, that's okay. That's why we're going to talk about it today. And I know it's insanely humid out there today. Oh my gosh. I stepped outside for like 5 minutes, and I was just sweating buckets. Nasty.
Yeah. I was out mowing the yard today, and it's level ground, so it's not like I'm having to push uphill or anything.
You're not struggling.
No, not struggling, but I was drenched. The humidity was awful.
Yeah, it was just I don't do well in humidity. That's just my own. I like it cool. I like it, not freaking dying of heat. And you could have a cold humidity too, and that's just gross. That's just nasty. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So how well versed were you in spontaneous combustion before this topic came up for us?
So I've actually, on Paranormal Frequencies, we talked about this a long time ago.
Okay.
It's probably been several years, so I know there's like several cases out there.
Yes.
But I know it's kind of a rare case.
Yeah.
You don't see this every day. You never see it. It's really
no.
I think the latest case that I've read was like in 2010.
Okay. Yeah. It's a very rare phenomenon. Like, it just happens. Like, nobody knows why. Back in the day, people were saying that it was the act of God smiting people for certain things, which we'll talk about that. But what do you think causes spontaneous combustion? Your own personal.
Oh, I don't know. Just off of stuff I've read, personally, my mind's open to everything about that. Like, you kind of have to take in every bit of information just to see what comes up. And
really do.
For me, like, there's not enough information one way or another. And to that extent, the skepticism has to remain. There's no burden of proof,
Absolutely. You have to keep that skepticism, or it's the same thing with anything to do with the paranormal. You have to have some sort of skepticism, or else you just get caught up in the fantasy and you ooh,
look at that.
Yeah, look what I can do, like, kind of situations. But you know how it is. Exactly. Nobody wants that. So I guess let's talk a little bit about what spontaneous human combustion is for people that don't know.
Okay. Well, let me read a little bit of kind of like an introduction here that
absolutely
kind of goes back a little bit. So this comes from Live Science, which, if you're not familiar with Live Science's website, they do a lot of articles about a multitude of topics, varying from phenomenon to actual science to like biology and geology, anything that they can talk science about. They will talk about it on this site. So there's an article about this. It says, for well over a century, some have claimed that people can suddenly and inexplicably explode into a ball of fire. Well, that right there, exploding into a ball of fire and actually just catching fire are two different things. This isn't like Big Trouble in Little China. I can just
just explode like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Gosh, that guy was so weird.
Right?
Like, how did he think that was the most effective power that he was going to use against any of them? I don't understand. Yeah, like, he's giving them plenty of warning time. I'm like, hey, this guy looks like he's about to explode. Let's get out of here.
It's Taco Bell.
Just run.
It's Taco Bell in Chinatown.
It wasn't the streetcar vendors or nothing. It was just the Taco Bell.
That's
purely. It is such a great movie. That is such an unsung hero of let's see, late 80s, early 90s movies.
Late 80s. I think it was 88, 89, somewhere around there.
Big Trouble in Little Chinatown is just one of those, I feel like, hugely underrated movies
Do you like how I just pulled that movie out of my butt?
I did. I love that. It was it's fantastic.
They get a whip of one on the brain here.
Yeah, they should have made a sequel. They could have.
They should have.
They could have continued that with the what is it? The whole his film series, Escape from New York or Escape from L.A.
I'm surprised they haven't remade it now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was super cheesy, super cheesy, but that's what made it so special. That's what made it so good. What?
You have your phone by your computer?
Is it going? Did? Yeah, I got it. All right. What about now?
No, it's not.
Cool. Yeah. Switched it from my mic, which is right here, to over here.
Over there. Yeah. All right. Let's get into this little spiel there.
Yeah.
The phenomenon is called spontaneous human combustion, or SHC, and it has been described in many popular books on mysteries and the unexplained. Though the term spontaneous human combustion is of fairly recent vintage, it was a rare but real concern in many back in the 1800s. In fact, there are nearly a dozen references to people bursting into flames in pre-1900 fiction. The most famous examples is Charles Dickens' 1853 novel, Bleak House, in which a character explodes into fire, though the phenomenon can also be found in the works of Mark Twain, Herman Melville, Washington Irving, and others. In modern times, SHC has appeared in movies and on television shows, including The X-Files, which I remember that episode. And it's even sort of the superpower of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, in the Fantastic Four comic books. So, but it goes back.
Flame on! Anyways.
But this goes back like way further than the 1800s.
1700s, actually.
17 is what you found.
The very, what is technically, I guess, what is called the first case of spontaneous combustion.
86.
Yes. 86. Man.
I was close. 88.
Beautiful. Love that.
Just a couple years off.
Love it. All right. So the first case, I'm just going to read it. The Polish Night Incident, one of the first written examples of spontaneous human combustion. Although the telling of the story alters across the ages, credit for the first written account would appear to go to Thomas Bartholin, who would write the account in Latin while in Milan in Italy in 1654. So even older than what I thought, 1700s. I thought this
1654.
Yeah, 1654. That's, whoa.
It's like almost.
That's almost 400 years ago.
It's about 100 years after Knights Templar, right? They were 1500s, weren't they?
That I couldn't tell you, actually. No idea. I'm a history guy, and I don't even know that. How sad. Anyway, so sad. However, many who have studied the text and the history of the spontaneous combustion express their frustration with the poorly written and translated nature of the account. In general, the basics of the story are that the knight in question who served Queen Bona Forza, the reason why I'm saying Forza is it's spelled S-F-O-R-Z-A. So it's not Sforza, or is it Sforza?
Or is it?
Maybe Sforza.
Because you just sounded like you had an accent when you did that. So
Sforza.
Let's go with that.
Sforza.
Sforza.
Exactly. And the knight was enjoying an evening of feasting and brandy. The tale goes that he would pour a glass of rich amber fluid, drain it, and then pour another glass or another before taking a seat at the fine tables spread for that evening's toast. So, huge table, massive feast going on. Dudes just having a great time drinking wine. No big deal. Or
Get
whatever.
Dirty with brandy.
Exactly. And the unnamed knight, a good example of the frustration of researchers of such lack detail, because there's no name. That nobody knows the name of this guy, apparently.
It's probably because they thought it was all witchcraft and they wanted to bury it.
Probably. Like, that's the devil. If that was, I guess that's probably what the thinking of them back in that time was, because with the, good times. The knight would feel brandy burn its way down his gullet into his stomach. Okay, so that's a normal thing. When you drink alcohol, you feel that little bit of burn. Yeah. However, he could then feel a sudden sensation rising back up as if the brandy was coming straight back up again. And then he opened his mouth, when he opened his mouth, it wasn't brandy that came forth, but flames and fire, which in turn would engulf the knight with alacrity. Alacrity.
With luminance.
Whatever. It's just a word. Alacrity.
I'm just trying to make it easy on you. We'll just say luminance.
Sorry, I didn't know alacrity meant luminance. So yeah, that was the first technical case documented. Like, how nuts would that be? It's 1600. Y'all are just.
Well, here's something to consider. You know, when you talk about human anatomy, we're 60% water, 60 to 70% water. Our bodies. So I mean, you wouldn't think we would just combust just because we have all that water in us. But now, biology, if you look at biology, there is a beetle that actually does produce flames. Yeah.
Really?
Yep. I'm going to look that up real quick, which beetle it is. But there is a tiny beetle that will create flames. But just the fact that there's an animal that's capable of doing this.
It says something.
Yeah. The beetle that shoots fire. It is the bombardier beetles.
Wow.
They're ground
beetles that shoot fire.
Let me pull up a picture here.
See if I've ever seen one before. Or any of us have ever seen one before.
Yeah. You wouldn't see them here. I mean,
I'll say it's probably particular to certain regions and areas.
Yeah.
But how much would that suck if you were living in that area and then your house burns down? It's like those damn beetles.
Here's a picture of it, of the beetle. It's not going to be Paul McCartney. There it is.
There. Huh.
He shoots it out of his bum.
Out of his bum, just like a stink bug. Nice.
Yep.
He shoots fire out of his bum. I wonder if it's probably a defense mechanism of some sort.
Yeah. They say it's from, let's see, our ground beetles and the tribes of Brachinini. All right, hang on a second.
Yeah, now you're having troubles with words too.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really say where it's at. I know it's like, I'm wanting to say South America. There's like
my friend Tana, if she's ever seen any before. I think she's in South America. I believe so.
Yeah, so it is a defense mechanism. They eject a hot, noxious chemical spray, basically, which acts like flames. It burns its victims.
So it's basically okay. So it's not necessarily fire; it's a chemical.
It's a chemical. So I mean, but
There's no spark.
Yeah, you still take that in consideration.
I'm sure. But how would he just all of a sudden just maybe? How about here's a theory. What if there was a candle sitting in front of him, and dude was about to hurl chunks or something? Like he got so right onto the candle, just in fire. Yeah. What if that's what did it?
Maybe.
Because I mean, that's the only thing I could think of. Maybe there was a jester or somebody doing an entertainment that night, and it dealt with fire, and maybe fire got a little too close to him. He had all that alcohol in his system, and just engulfed. Plus, if you think about it too, all the materials back in that day, I'm sure most of their clothes was like he wouldn't be wearing his armor at this celebration. He'd be in relaxed clothing most likely. He's not on duty.
Probably.
So
that would have caught fire too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't.
If he had a beard, I mean,
beard would have caught fire. Would have made it worse. So, you never.
He had alcohol in his beard.
That's true. Oh yeah, just like you see on the dwarves, and everybody gets it. They're just tilting it all the way back and just flowing straight down the gullet, just right on down. Now, see, yeah, exactly.
Well, human torch was born.
Exactly. And there was another case in the 1700s, and this one's titled "Death by Visitation of God."
Okay.
It was in France, 1725. So, not only did the husband of Nicole Miller have to cope with the bizarre and sudden death of his wife in France in 1725, but he also had to defend himself against accusations of murder. Okay. He had to defend himself for not being called a murderer for her death. So, back in those days, lady just randomly dies of fire, and then the only person that's there is her husband.
It's no different than today, I guess.
There you go.
I mean, you're married.
Yeah, that's
you're prime suspect number one.
Yeah, that's true. It would definitely go that way today. All right, so Nicole's incinerated body, or what remained of it, was discovered in a chair which itself was completely undamaged. This would lead to the accusations that her husband had killed Nicole elsewhere. Interesting. He was promptly arrested and charged. He most likely would have met his end on the guillotine had it not been for the surgeon, Nicholas Lecat. Nicholas Lecat. It is literally L-E space C-A-T.
Yeah.
Lecat.
The cat.
Who would speak at his trial. The lawyer would offer that Nicole Miller was almost certainly a victim of the phenomena known as spontaneous human combustion. The court would ultimately drop the charges against Nicole's husband, and the official ruling was that she died by the visitation of God. Interestingly, over the century, and then this is where it goes into Charles Dickens, which we've already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So how crazy would that be?
Imagine the judge be like, well, we don't have enough evidence to convict this guy. I guess you just pissed God off quite a bit and
just blame it on God. Be like, well, God smited her. I guess she made him so mad that he just put her down in one go.
I feel a burning in my loins. Well, you're going to feel a burning in your chest now.
Not the good kind of burning either. You know what I'm saying?
Careful there, you might spontaneously combust.
Don't worry, I'm fine. I don't have fire close to me, and I have a lighter, but that's not going to do anything.
Sparks, buddy, sparks. So let me read this real quick here. So fires do not typically start on their own, right?
Right.
So when investigators search for the cause of forest fires, they don't assume that the flame ignited itself. Rather, they usually suspect that it's like a stupid-ass camper or
somebody was an idiot.
Yeah. Or a lightning strike might have caused, a fire or something.
Yeah.
However, there are many things that can self-ignite without exposure to flames.
Okay.
Under the right circumstances, coal dust, piles of compost, and used oily rags can ignite. I would assume it'd have to happen with some kind of magnifier from the, like when you put a magnifying glass up.
Yeah.
But it's a whole different matter to claim that people can burst into flames for no reason. There's no doubt that bodies can burn because you do go to the crematoriums and they're burning bodies all the time.
People die in fires, car accidents, like what have you. Wherever fire is, if it gets to a human body, they are going to die.
Hey,
y'all. But thanks, Cassie.
Hello, Cassie.
Yes.
So the mysteries of spontaneous human combustion lies in the supposedly strange circumstance under which a victim, we'll call them victims, burst into flames. Typically, the story goes there's no obvious source of fire or ignition that might set the person aflame. And then furthermore, the victims are killed and not, for example, only partially burned on one arm or leg. Spontaneous human combustion is fatal. I don't think anybody's really survived. I didn't see any stories about any survivors of SHC. Some claim that burning often seems to begin in the chest or stomach area, leaving the grisly remains of legs and hands intact. Other claims that the furniture and floor underneath the surrounding victim, including even their clothing, remain mysteriously unburned. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So we're gonna take a closer look here now. And while I'm doing this, guys, I want to pre-warn people.
It's a bit graphic.
Who might be watching. I'm gonna be posting some pictures here. There's gonna be some pictures, a slideshow, basically, if you will. That way you have a visual of what we're talking about, right? So let's.
I get a real visual, facial. What?
Fire. It burns. All right, here we go. Yay, fire. Oh, you muted yourself, did you, Charles? Okay. So, on closer look, some of these popular claims are simply wrong. Okay. For example, there are many photographs of supposed SHC victims that clearly show extensive burning and damage to the clothing and surroundings of the burned person. It's also important to understand a bit of fire forensics. Many fires are self-limiting. That is, they put themselves out naturally because they run out of fuel. Though the public often sees uncontrolled fires completely engulfing and burning down entire rooms and buildings, fires are unpredictable. It is quite possible, for example, for only a rug, a bed, or a sofa to catch fire without spreading to the rest of the room, because fires normally burn upward instead of outward. There is nothing paranormal or strange about finding a victim in one part of a room burned to death while the rest of the room has little more than smoke damage.
Huh.
Welcome back, Charles.
Hi.
So what about the source of ignition?
Well, I mean, if it started at the body, it would have to be at the body.
Well, what could possibly cause people to suddenly burst into flames? This talks about a century ago. It was blamed on intemperance and even God's wrath, which you had mentioned. Most victims were assumed to be drunkards who had saturated their cells with alcohol.
Don't drink it. Yeah, don't drink.
I was waiting for you to take a drink.
It's horrible. Just don't drink. Don't drink at all. It's horrible for your health.
And you could burn to death.
Oh, this is just dirty water. That's what this is.
Yeah, that's Kansas City water right there. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
In the 1970s, a quasi-Freudian explanation came into vogue, suggesting that a person's depressive emotional states could somehow cause him or her to become inflamed.
Wait, depressive?
I'm so depressed.
So depressed that you light yourself on fire. Huh.
You just burst into flames.
That's a new one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope I never get that depressed.
These damn emo kids, always bursting into flames.
Gee, I swear, those darn emo kids.
Yep.
It's a wonder why we didn't have so much more like spontaneous combustion over these past, like why we haven't had more spontaneous combustion cases, because I feel like depression has really amped up a lot in the last 20 years. Like,
well, they go on to ask that question in here.
Oh, jump the gun. Sorry.
Yeah. Look at you go, gun jumper.
Just my noggin.
You son of a gun.
Mm.
Others have suggested sunspots, cosmic storms, gas-producing intestinal bacteria, or even a buildup of the body's supposed vibrational energy may to be blame.
I would love to figure out how to control that, but
Vibrational energy?
Oh, absolutely.
Just take batteries out. Yet all these explanations are pseudoscientific, and there is no evidence for any of them. Our bodies are 60 to 70% non-flammable water.
Yeah.
And the simple fact is that there's no physical or medical mechanism by which a person could possibly self-combust. If people were truly or could suddenly burst into flames without being anywhere near an open flame, presumably there would be examples that have occurred while the victim was swimming in a bathtub or even scuba diving, yet those cases don't exist.
Well, I feel like it also depends on how much water, because with our body's water, that could be evaporated probably pretty easily because of how flammable we are. Now, you see a lot of cases, people, if they catch fire, find a body of water, boom, it'll put you out, or you'll be so saturated you won't catch on fire. So maybe it just depends on the amount of water, because only being 60%, I feel like that could really,
Well, still, I mean, so this happens, apparently. There are cases. And if it's a natural mechanism, then why don't we see cows, dogs, elephants, birds, horses? Why don't we see any animals bursting into flames?
Because they're not as depressed as we are. I mean,
that's a good point.
If one of the reasons could be that they're so depressed that they just into fire.
Oh no!
Maybe though they're not depressed.
I mean, yeah,
they're living their best lives.
Hey, you never know. There could be depressed animals out there.
Oh, I guarantee there are. Like I know that there's animals who suffer from attachment issues, that they're with their owner for so long, and then when the owner leaves to go to work, it's just mass chaos.
Well, I mean, but still, think of it. Like, I mean, we have billions of animals on the planet, and even with the number of humans, I mean, obviously there's bazillion more animals than there are humans. I mean,
maybe alien experiment gone wrong.
You think about insects and everything, but with humans, you get the small percentage, but that percentage would be exponentially bigger with bugs and other animals. So we would see this at least 100 times a day. We would probably see something burst into flames. Like, oh, that bird had a hard life.
Maybe I don't.
Maybe we have. Maybe that's why that bird flew into that pitch that Randy Johnson threw.
Oh,
he was suffering and he was catching fire, and he's like,
I just want to die. And it was doused.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was the best way to go for that bird. It just gone.
Yeah,
dude. I have, crazy enough, I've seen this bird full on smack into a window. This lady goes and picks it up, touches it, rubs it a little bit, and then it gets up and flies away. I've witnessed multiple birds kill themselves by hitting this said window, snapping their neck. Mm-hmm. Somehow this one survived, or she was a witch. I don't know.
She probably froze it like they do flies. They're like, oh, I'm going to make a fly come back to life. And you just thaw it out with your heat from your hand, and it flies.
Maybe. And just maybe.
I just ruined magic tricks for.
Well, people. Okay. But what if the reason why I haven't seen it more with animals, they don't live as long, for one. The body's not under as much stress. Just throwing out possibilities.
Well, one thing they said was that the majority of these cases happen to females, and elderly females at that.
So doesn't live as long.
And you got to cut that number by either half or 40%.
Well, and your body changes a lot as you get older, so maybe that water count decreases and your skin becomes a little bit more brittle and frail. So could be just instant.
Could be, all those years of relationships where the women don't fart in front of the guys; they're just holding it in.
It's just building up like in a pocket inside their system somehow.
It's just building up like a bomb, and then one day.
Gosh. So here's the thing, though: would the fire start? Like, obviously, the fire has to start on the inside.
Yeah.
Like just.
I think it would have to.
That's so weird. So weird. And yet you have all those carnival trick people that like swallow the fire or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe it catch on fire.
Maybe again, it like I wouldn't say maybe there's like a chemical imbalance with somewhere in the stomach or the intestine or something like that.
Maybe
some kind of secretion.
It's swamp gas. Swamp gas.
It's swamp gas.
Swamp gas.
Swamp ass.
Oh, that's. With old ladies, I mean, it makes sense,
right?
Didn't clean properly and just
swamp ass and mud butt.
Granny let one go and it just really set her ass on fire. Hey.
Stop getting Taco Bell in Chinatown.
Exactly. Even back in the 1600s. Gosh, what are people thinking? Should never have Taco Bell from the 1600s.
No. You know how bad that food was? They had plagues.
Dude.
Like, it's bad now, but back then, plagues and stuff.
Well, I'm just saying that was an actual pain. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Lord.
So, there was another case. I was talking about a case that happened as recently as 2010, and this was like the first time it ever happened in Ireland.
Oh,
there was a guy named Michael Faherty, who was an elderly Irishman who lived alone and burned to death in his home in December of 2010. His body was found a few feet away from an open burning fireplace, but the coroner decided that it had not set him on fire. But here's the thing, though. The coroner could say that all he wants. He's a biological forensic scientist and investigator and things of that.
Yeah.
But he's not a forensic investigator of a crime scene. So he could be wrong still.
Very possible. Very possible.
Perhaps he spilled alcohol on him. Tried to light a fire in the fireplace. Flame jumped. Whoosh. Up goes his shirt. Burned his gray hairs off his chest tubes. And
yeah, I mean, that is weirdly quite possible.
I mean, it sounds logical. You've seen, I don't know if you've ever been to like a bonfire and seen the wood pop off like, a shot of coal or spark of just like a little,
embers of some sort catching, jumping off and catching.
Yeah,
I've been there.
It could happen.
Don't get too close to that fire.
Maybe he was warming up next to the fire because he was cold.
Very possible.
It was December.
Wait, it was December?
It was December.
I wonder how many of these actually happened, because there's another case in here that I've found of happening in Christmas. Happening on Christmas Day, which I'll talk about that one in just a bit.
Yeah, that's kind of. I wonder how many of them actually happened in the winter.
This next one I'm about to read happened in April, so it's not the winter.
Oh, I thought you had one that was December.
I mean, I'll go ahead and read that one off.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, do it.
All right. Well, the one that happened in December, it was on Christmas Eve, 1885, in Seneca, a small farming community in Illinois. Matilda Rooney was in. Huh?
I know where that's at.
Yeah, Matilda Rooney was in her kitchen with her husband Patrick. Gosh darn it! Hold on, my thing's being difficult. She was in the kitchen with her husband. Patrick was in the neighboring room. Although the exact details are unknown, at some stage during the evening, Matilda would literally burst into flames. Within moments, she was dead and reduced to a pile of ash. Even more bizarre, Patrick was later discovered dead in the other room, apparently suffocated from fumes. This, even though there was no outward damage to the rest of the property. The discovery would leave investigators perplexed. There was no evidence of foul play, and furthermore, one of the farm workers who had spent several hours with the pair on the night in question said everything was normal when he left. The couple were ready to celebrate the holidays and were each enjoying a glass of whiskey. What confused investigators further was the fact that there was no sign of any external accelerant to suggest what might have caused it in the first place. It would seem from all of the evidence available that the only source of flame was Matilda herself. Now, my question of that is, where was she found in the kitchen, or where did they think it started? Because if they're getting ready for the holidays, let's say hypothetically,
she's baking.
Yes, she used her gas stove, and maybe she turned it on, caught herself on fire, and then, like, in a frantic, oh no, turned it off, so that she wouldn't know. But she's still on fire, and then she just caught fire.
Yeah, and
then her catching fire killed her husband.
Well, here's the thing:
how would he not know? Would he have been passed out? He would have had to have been passed out.
Had to have been asleep. If he suffocated from the fumes of her, but there was no other damage around the house that they mentioned. Now, here's one thing I always think about is, like, if somebody were to combust and be completely ash, like almost instantly, like, how hot is that flame?
Yeah, it has to be like
intense.
Blue, very hot.
Because even when they do the cremations, it takes about 3 hours to cremate a body.
And I don't think they had smoke detectors back at that time, right? There's no way.
Probably not.
1885? No, there's no way. She would have just died.
And even then, if it wasn't a gas stove, they would have had to build a fire in a pit.
That's true. Well, but that could have come from the pit, though. And if the investigator said that there was no start of it, maybe she lit a rogue candle and the candle caught fire and then it just burned.
By the time they found her, could the fire have burned out?
Yeah, the only thing that I could think of with that is maybe she
Or maybe she just struck a match.
I would say maybe that could be it. She maybe struck a match. There's no way it would have been a fire pit because they would have been like, oh, she probably ignited herself in the fire pit. It would have been in the report.
Unless she stumbled away from it.
Yeah, but they said that there was nothing in that room that would have caused a fire. Like they're saying that the fire started from her. So it's like, I don't think it would have been like a fire. So maybe my only explanation that I can think of, because fire can burn wax, right?
Yeah.
What if she had a candle and in her drunken stupor accidentally dropped the candle, like just a stick? She's holding the actual lit stick in her hand, no protection or nothing. And let's say the fire was so intense that it just disintegrated the candle wax.
Well, you would have to expect it to, because if it's going to disintegrate the body that quick,
and if it's on her especially, that's just like, if she might have like caught her hair on fire or clothes, you never know, you know. And if the candle, like I said, if it completely evaporated, they wouldn't have noticed. They could have, the string from the candle would have got mixed in with her clothing. It would have been completely ash, and then the wax would have just disintegrated completely, probably.
Yeah,
I can think of.
I don't know.
That's spontaneous combustion.
So
another case. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, it makes me never want to say, let me breezy win.
Ooh, yeah, that wouldn't be a good idea.
Well, here we go.
That would be horrible. So another case, dubbed Silent Lightning, it's the incident of Countess de Bondi Cesantis of Verona, Italy in 1731. So according to the written documentation on the evening of April 3rd, 1731 of Verona, Italy, I'm just going to say Countess Bondi, because
Bondi.
Santis or Cesante, so Bondi finished her evening meal as normal and would then retire to bed. Nothing out of the ordinary was apparent to the maid, who spoke to the Countess for several hours in her room, other than that she felt dull and heavy. After she fell asleep, the maid left the room, planning to return in the morning when her mistress called her after waking. Yeah, okay, that's fair. However, the following morning, assuming the Countess had overslept or perhaps feeling unwell from the previous evening, the maid entered the bedroom to wake her up. What greeted her was a sight she was simply not prepared for. The official report would read, 4 feet distance from the bed, there was a heap of ash, 2 legs untouched, from the foot to the knee with their stockings on. Between them was a lady's head, whose brains, half of the back part of the skull. So that was her brains, the
back half was exposed.
Yes, the back half of her skull was exposed. So her head was like, let me make sure I'm reading this correctly. Between them was the lady's head, whose brains, half of the back part of the skull. Okay, so the brain and the back part of the skull was still intact?
Or just like there was a chunk of the skull missing and half the back was there, but half of it was shown.
Maybe that report just is weird. And the whole chin were burnt to ashes, among which was found 3 fingers blackened. All the rest was ash, which had this particular quality that they left in the hand when taken up a stinking moisture. So something smelled. Probably because rotting flesh?
Probably. I don't know about rotting, maybe cooked.
Right. So despite the obvious carnage of the gruesome smoldering display on the floor, there was no further damage to the rest of the room. An oil lamp sat at the side was empty of oil. Furthermore, the 2 candles that sat in their holders were unlit. The blanket on the bed were turned down as though someone had been asleep and left their bed temporarily, fully expecting to return very shortly. So, interesting. So a combination of factors create potent fuel. Perhaps the conclusion of the incident are even more remarkable than whatever actually did take place. Satisfied that the Countess was not a drinker, nor was there any evidence of the oil lamp catching fire and being the source of the flames, the report would state that she had risen from her bed during the evening, possibly to open a window or to take a drink, go to the restroom, what have you. However, upon doing so, she was, according to the report, struck by silent lightning That's the official. They're just making up silent lightning attack or whatever.
I think that's the thing.
Right, exactly. Furthermore, this electric assailant had crept through the crack in the window or down the fireplace, where it ultimately made contact with the Countess. Whether clear thinking or just simple evaluation of how bizarre the conclusion sounded, the final analysis was eventually altered. Now the report would look to the high amount of perfume that Bondi would use, or that would apply, as being the reason she seemingly burst into flames in the middle of the night while her bed was unaffected. Just over a decade after her death, however, Paul Rowley would write in the Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society of London that such an event was not produced by the light of the lamp or any kind of candles, because common fire, even in a pile, does not consume a whole body to such a degree, and would have besides spread itself to goods of the chamber and more combustible than a human body. So he's coming from good points.
Mhm.
Rowley suggests that a combination of factors would likely work. For example, he would suggest that flammable gases mixed with alcohol from the perfume could unintentionally produce a potent fuel that could then incinerate the body immediately by the time the limbs, head, and other leftovers of the body were reached. Rowley would suggest that the fuel had burned out. So, you think about it, when women spray themselves, it's usually boom. So central mass of spraying. What they say, they said the legs were there, fingers were not there, which that makes a difference. So maybe, her soul was still in.
Down to the fingers and legs. And her,
yeah, fingers and legs. And her head. That's nuts. I don't know.
I don't think I'd agree with that. Like, you would still have to have something to ignite the perfume.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, if it's middle of the night, she's, turning in or anything like that, not going to be putting on perfume.
Yeah, that's very true.
So,
I'm going to wear cologne still, but whatever.
Yeah. You're going to wear the cologne to bed?
Every fucking night.
So you smell like you're sleeping with a man?
Mm. Smell like I'm sleeping with me.
Put that pillow in between the legs.
Each cologne smells specific to you.
Ooh.
Did you know that? It has a base of cologne, but it messes with your body scent, and it sends off a certain smell to other people. It's weird how they do it, but that's the science of perfumes.
Mm.
Anyway.
It's science.
It is science.
Let me throw this out there to those that are watching. Do you think, from everything you've heard, do you think spontaneous combustion is a real thing, or is it a natural, external source? Like, does it have an external source, or is it something that occurs within it?
Something. Yeah.
Yeah. External source or internal? That's what I want to know. You guys think it's an external thing or an internal thing?
Me personally, not that you were asking me. Me personally, we don't. It's hard to tell because one hasn't witnessed something like that. Nobody has witnessed. I mean, that's live that I know of.
Well, I mean, have you witnessed an exorcism?
Nope.
Then how do you know they're even a real thing? Stories
and accounts. I mean, I believe in exorcisms more than I believe in spontaneous combustion, honestly. It's not exorcisms like Hollywood exorcism, because that's all fake.
What if they're all in the same?
Exorcisms and spontaneous combustion. So you think people died from the possessions? You think they bursted into fire from possession?
From demonic possession?
Maybe.
I'm gonna make you ravage in the pits of hell, and then whoosh.
You're gonna start here first, and then whoosh, just gone, dead.
Maybe. Cassie says external could be static charge. That's something that people don't think about.
That's true, because you're rolling on those carpets, those fabric, and you go to touch something, and just and if alcohol is the factor, then it could really mess you up.
Very well could be.
That's
so. Like I said, I'd covered this subject years ago, and years before what I'm going to read next even came out. So this is new to me. Okay, so when I found this, I was like, I have to bring this to the show. I have to bring this information in. This comes from the Department of Physiology at the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. You wouldn't think that Nigeria would have like this big college that's going to study something like this, but they do apparently.
You would think.
And this was something that they like a kind of like an article or a report, you know, a thing that they put out. So here it goes. Spontaneous human combustion is a contentious and extremely rare phenomenon whereby a person suddenly bursts into flames or catches on fire without any visible external stimuli, such as petrol and matches, etc., being applied to the person. The victim often burns to ashes, yet the surroundings may remain unburnt, unescorted, unscathed, and the fire is promptly extinguished as miraculously as it is started. Could there be a rational, scientific explanation for these freaky fires, scores of which have been documented in the last half millennium? Skeptics of this phenomenon abound, and some cases attributed to spontaneous human combustion have been argued to be due to conceal cigarette butts and etc. But not all cases of this phenomenon can be so readily dismissed. Picture a spherical living entity, too small to be seen by the naked eye.
Yeah.
A living entity smaller than bacteria, viruses, red blood cells, white blood cells, fungi, and protozoa. These living motile entities cannot be destroyed by any means yet devised by man. They are found in all living things, human beings, plants, dogs, lions, ostriches, giraffes, etc., etc. Once it's alive, the entity is found therein. These entities are found in the air as well. These entities sometimes come together in groups and clumps and form bacteria. In greater aggregations, they form cells and tissues. And surprisingly, when an animal or a human being ceases to exist, these tiny bodies continue to live. Welcome to the world of microzymas, also known as cellular dust, theorized to be the creators of life on Earth and of the entire universe.
Jeez.
Under normal circumstances, heat in the human body is produced by basic metabolic processes, specific dynamic action, and muscular activity. Heat is lost from the body by radiation, conduction, sweat, vaporization, respiration, and urination. It could very well be that in rare instances, microzyma carry out some extremely exothermic reactions for which tissue conductance is hopelessly inadequate, and thus the cells, tissues, organs, and systems literally burn up. The death of the unfortunate individual coincides with the decoordination of the microzyma, and that explains why the fire doesn't affect inanimate objects around the victim to be at an appreciable degree. Barring ketosis, the wick effect, ball lightning, and supernatural forces, microzyman reactions gone awry, i.e., rogue microzymas, might prove to be a rational explanation for a very perplexing spectacle called spontaneous human combustion.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is there's this basically organism, I guess, that's smaller than bacteria that does create its own energy, its own heat, and everything like that, and it works with our bodies.
Yeah.
But when there's that misfire where it doesn't happen, it doesn't work, it just burns up and it takes out everything in its path. Like all the tissue, all your intestines, your innards, everything, it just takes it out, burns it up.
That's crazy.
And this, again, like I said, comes from a department of physiology at a university in Nigeria. Now, I don't know how many other universities or how many other physiology departments or biology departments would actually support this idea or this claim. I would be very curious to find out who would support this or back this and what they would have to say about it.
Yeah, yeah, that would be very interesting to see and hear. I just don't. The phenomenon of spontaneous combustion has always fascinated me to greater extents.
Uh-huh.
I've heard about it. Like I remember hearing about it when I was like 7, I think was the first time I'd heard about it. That's 7 years old for some reason was like when I really took the dive into like paranormal.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was 7 specifically, but that's when I found that author and he recommended like I remember around like I remember reading more adult style books like at 7. At 5 or 6, I was reading the kids stuff, and then like for some reason, first grade for me, it was just like I'm hitting all this weird stuff.
Right.
It sounded so fascinating and like super intriguing to me. So I had to just read more of it. And there was like 2 books, and I'm pretty sure in one of those books it talked about spontaneous combustion. So it's always been like in the back of my mind, and I've been wanting to talk about it for a long time. It just
burns you up inside.
ha ha ha.
Oh.
Stop the fire. Anyways,
Oh, burn.
yeah, see exactly. And I'm so, and here's to think about. So, what if there are kids? So, and this is how I feel about a lot of paranormal stuff.
Sure.
What if the reason why we don't hear about it today is sources where things come from are easily controlled now?
What do you mean?
Take the media and the news, for example. They only report on what they're bought and paid to report on.
Right.
So what if it's harder
for not hearing about it because they're covering it up, basically, or just not reporting it?
Yeah, the same, yeah, both. Maybe they're covering up. Maybe they're. So what if like certain like crazy incidences happen and they're like, oh, blah 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 blah, died in a fire today, but what if they actually died by like a different way? Like if something else happened.
A spontaneous combustion. They said, oh, it was a house fire.
Yeah,
it's possible.
So I remember when I was reading like a bunch on giants back in like the 20s, 30s, and 40s, there were like regular, like maybe not just 20, maybe earlier than that. There were plenty of newspaper ads or stories about giant bones being discovered and found.
Yeah.
You don't hear that a lot today.
It's because the Smithsonian is covering that up.
Boom. I think they're just actively trying to cover things up. And I also think at the same time, depending on who you go with, it's getting harder and harder to cover more things up. Like I firmly believe the Vatican is behind so much stuff that people like, yeah, I think they're behind so much stuff as far as like having a mass amount of archives. They could have a lot of stuff down there that could be missing relics in history.
Right. There's been free thinkers back in the 1400s, 1300s, earlier.
True.
That, when you would get locked up for thinking scientifically, like when you start talking about astronomy and things of that nature, you would get locked up because it didn't go with religion.
Yeah, because they blame it on the devil, which is why I appreciate the author Charles Fort so much with his book of the Damned, because a lot of things that he explains in that is paranormal events of like what we know as paranormal events today. But back then it was the devil. It was all, you're going to hell if you talk about any of this kind of stuff. Like it's all straight devil. And that to me is one of the biggest religious brainwashes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where they convinced people that anything unexplained is the devil. Anything that you question is the devil.
There was, and I'm gonna have to look him up. I'm gonna have to do some research and find him again. I'd heard and read about this guy many centuries ago, who was actually speaking publicly about extraterrestrial life, and he ended up at the Vatican. They said that they were gonna put him to work for something.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was, but they ended up locking him up. And all of his books and paperwork and stuff that he was working on, they confiscated all of it.
That's what they do. The victors rewrite, or they're in control. If the ones that get stiffed up, Kennedy warned us about all this stuff. There was a speech that Kennedy got killed for because he warned us about shadow government.
Yeah.
That's why he got killed. Like I don't care what anybody says. was not one lone gunman. This was somebody took him out on purpose, like had an agenda.
Hey, speaking of which, did you ever watch that movie I suggested to you?
Which movie?
Smoking Gun.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I'm sorry.
You gotta watch
What's it on? Anything? Is it streaming on anything?
When I watched it, the whole documentary was on YouTube. Let me see if it's still on there.
Okay, yeah, because if it is, I'll watch it tonight. Shoot it. I am a huge, and that could be the one that started the whole conspiracy theory train for me was JFK. That might have been the one.
Yeah, JFK, the Smoking Gun. You can rent it or buy it on YouTube. I don't know if it's on any other ones. It's called JFK, the Smoking Gun.
I'll look on Prime because I know there's a lot of good stuff that's for sale on Prime. And like, I would rather buy it through Prime because I have an Amazon Prime account.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you can stream it, it'd just be a lot easier.
Yes, that would be a lot easier. But yeah, I feel like a lot of things have just being more controlled, and people don't talk about it as much. The UFO, and that's really hard for people to control. That could be a combination of Project Bluebeam and like people talking, because there's a lot of talk about UFOs right now. There's a ton of talk about UFOs and aliens and stuff right now.
Okay, so the Smoking Gun movie is on Amazon Prime right now. You can watch it free with ads.
Wait, is it a Prime account?
Yeah, if you have Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I've got an Amazon Prime. That's with ads though?
Yeah, with ads it's free.
Oh, okay. Well, I've never had ads on Amazon Prime with my Prime. Maybe it'll be ad free. Who knows?
Maybe.
I hope so, because I would. Yeah, like I remember watching. There was this guy who came to my school talking about how like he was friends with one of the security guards in the front car, which is the guy that actually shot and killed Kennedy. Yeah, there was
not in the front car.
Huh?
Not in the front car.
I thought it was the front car, not the back car.
No, back.
Are you sure?
Watch the movie.
Okay, well, me personally, with how that, I don't think that would have been the killing shot. I think it would have been one of the other shots. Does that make sense? I don't think it would have been the killing shot from the back, because when JFK goes back into the left, that's not you're not gonna get shot from the back of the head and then go backwards into the left. I just don't see that happening. That's not how momentum works. Personally,
just watch the movie.
I'll look into it.
That's all I'm gonna say. Just watch the movie.
Okay. If is that what it's about? Is the car? Is him?
Well, it's about finding out who did the fatal shot, who killed Kennedy, but it also shows you more. It gives you more information surrounding his death that is so effing like it's just messed up.
Wait. Okay. Does it talk about George Bush Sr.?
It goes into when during his autopsy,
yeah.
The FBI came in and confiscated everybody's camera film and all that stuff.
And how somebody went into the
Secret
room.
Service did, not FBI. Secret Service.
Yeah, like and there was somebody in the room during the swearing, and they think that it tampered with the body. They think that because they said that when the body got to the hospital after flying, the body was completely different. They said that the wound was completely different than what the physicians had seen first on site. The body wound was completely different. Huh?
Watch the movie.
Oh, I'm excited. I might have seen this then. If it's the same thing that we're talking. Did it talk about George Bush Sr. at all?
It might have. It's been a while since I've watched it. It came out in 2013.
There was okay. Yeah, either way, I'm excited. I heard some pretty cool stuff about some stuff here lately that I'm really excited for, but it's more conspiracy stuff that I want to say for another time.
Yeah,
because it's just a little teaser. But man, this subject to me is just always out there,
And like you said, there may be more cases of spontaneous combustion.
Maybe we just need to maybe we just need to do like a dive, like on YouTube.
It kind of reminds me of like whenever they can't figure out the cause of death at a homicide, they just come up with an explanation and be like, "Yep, that's how he died."
I wonder if there's Yeah, that's true. I wonder if there's other ancient civilizations. So, yes, I know we read that one that the 1700s that a person, or not 17, that 1600s, somebody burst into flames. I wonder if it goes back even further in more of a religious sense or a
Like
spiritual
ancient
sense.
Samaria,
Yeah,
Egypt.
like what if there were tales of maybe they, like they said, their gods or whoever they worship smited this person, or this person, like, just something happened to them and they thought it was the gods or whatever. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, and there's another thing, if you want to bring in aliens to it or whatever, what
Possible.
if that person just died from that? What if it, like, somebody was just like, oh, they're dead.
What if these people were all like abductees? They were implanted with something, and
it didn't sit.
It ran their course. Well,
Yeah.
it had a bad reaction, or they ran their course with them and they decided to burn them up.
Your time's done. Push the button.
Are we going to go recover our device? Nope, we're just going to burn it up.
I mean, okay, here's the thing. That would make sense into us being programs in a simulation, because they would be de-resing. It would just disintegrate it into pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with, if you think about, if you want to go with another way, it'd be the same thing with the Avengers, where people got turned into ash, into nothingness. Like,
well, there's a movie coming out with Ryan Reynolds where he's a video game character who he ends up realizing he's in a video game.
So it's like the Truman Show, but in a video game sense.
Yeah, and he starts telling everybody and getting everybody to realize that this is just a video game.
It's Ryan Reynolds. That would be perfect for him. Like, there's got to be fourth wall breaks. Like that. That's just who he is now.
Yeah. I don't remember the name of the film either. I'm
pretty sure I saw an ad for it the other day.
Well, he's got 3 movies coming out this year.
3? Man, he's been busy.
Yeah. One of them is like where he's like a hitman or something.
Yeah.
That one's been advertised a lot lately.
Okay. Oh.
I think it's also got dang, now I can't think of his name. He's one of those mob guys.
Old?
Yeah.
Robert De Niro.
De Niro. I think it's De Niro that's in it.
Dropping facts. Maybe I've been okay. So I have this theory that I think, because of the year being like a slowdown year, that possibly music, movies, TV shows could be getting better. The reason why is people have been able to take their time with creating.
Yeah. And
maybe artists have been able to really hone in on their writing skills and not felt so pressured. Because I think there's been people who've released new albums here pretty recently, within like the past month or two. But I maybe that could bring in a new wave.
Like you said, with bands, they weren't touring for an entire year.
Exactly.
So I mean, Metallica, they started recording already. Like, they started on a new album.
God,
because they haven't been touring.
Those guys are still going, man.
Yeah,
amazing.
What they started doing was, like, each one of them would be at their own home. They start writing parts. They send it over the internet. They try to do live sessions, live chat sessions and stuff. But now I guess they've finally been able to hook up and get into a studio and stuff. So.
Yeah. And I wasn't a huge fan of Metallica back in the day, but then a friend of mine, seriously, I was not. Okay, so
credit job.
When I was introduced to rock, it was because of my sister mainly. When I was introduced to music, it was a lot of rock and emo-y, like, alternative stuff. So we didn't really listen to a lot of Metallica. She didn't like the sound of Metallica. So my sister and I had very, very, very similar tastes in music. And then I got a lot of taste from my mom and dad because of, like, older stuff. And so Metallica just wasn't in that. Like, my dad was not really a huge, like, hair metal band guy or just a hair band person. So back and forth. He was a DJ, so he had a lot of stuff. So when I went to Metallica's show like 2 or 3 years ago, and that was easily one of the best rock concerts I've ever been to. Like, it was actually a lot of fun. They put on a great show. Metallica puts on a really good show.
I will say, if you haven't seen it yet, Metallica did the S&M 2 with the symphony. There's a you can find just the one song on YouTube, but they did a All Within My Hands from the Saint Anger album, but they did it acoustically with the symphony, and the way they did that song was like the way it should have been. And that song is like really dark. The way it's a dark song, but the acoustic version on S&M, it's something else. It's just something else.
I really like their cover of "Turn the Page."
Yeah,
I think they did a really good job with that.
I think everybody loves that one.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, it's a cover. Like obviously the original artist is great too. I just really enjoy this cover.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really enjoy the White Wolves cover of Zombie. Like it's just I think it's White Wolves.
Bad Wolves.
Thank you. I knew it was wolves, and it's a white wolf on their cover. Jeez. Actually, I've been meaning to catch up on Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus, and I know the Winter Soldier's name is now White Wolf. Subconsciously in my head, but no, I was turning into my Charles Fort book and seeing if he had any cases of spontaneous combustion. And I looked at fire. There wasn't spontaneous human or human combustion or anything like that. But there's a section that said mysterious burns, deaths by mysterious burns. I was going to see if any of these cases were any of them were spontaneous combustion, but I don't think they are. But it'd be interesting if he actually had it like written down.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people, like I know, yes, people do look into his stuff, but I don't know how many people actually like read his stuff. I haven't really looked to it.
Well, I will say for those that are watching this later or even now, we've been trying to figure out a way that we can do like some reviews, paranormal evidence. We asked the audience if you want to send us some stuff. Feel free to send us a link. Put it down in the comments section of a piece of video that you want us to check out, like paranormal video or audio or something. I think what we'll do, Charles, like we were supposed to like both bring something to the table tonight. Again, kind of busy this past 4 or 5 days. So that didn't get done. But what I think we could probably do is at some juncture, either tomorrow or whatever, we can just do a separate video of us reviewing some evidence.
I would love that. I would really, really love that.
Maybe we'll do one of Nuke's top 5s or something.
That would be amazing.
So, well, I mean, is there anything that
he did have a case. Blythe News, February 28th. Smoke was seen coming from the window of a house in Blythe. Neighbors broke in and found the body of an occupant, Barbara Bell, age 77, on her sofa. Her body was burned as if for a long time and had been in the midst of intense flames. It was thought that the victim had fallen into the fire. The body was fearfully charred. But he wasn't in the fire, though. So could she have just like passed out and woke up and like, ah?
You said the body was charred, or wasn't?
Yeah, the body was charred.
So
it didn't completely.
So maybe they did burn some, but like maybe they, kind of stumbled off in shock or something and then passed out, or the fumes. Maybe the fumes got to them.
Here's another one, actually. Man, I should look into his book more often. Mrs. Thomas, so on December 17th, 1904, in the London Daily News, yesterday morning, Mrs. Thomas Cochrane of Rockwell Falkirk, widow of well-known local gentleman, was found burned to death in her bedroom. No fire in the grate, burned almost beyond recognition. No outcry, little, if anything else burned, body found. Sitting in a chair, surrounded by pillows and cushions. Mysterious burns.
Yeah.
It's technically, that could be a spontaneous. So, yeah, I mean, I think it happens. We just don't hear about it. I think stuff like that's being suppressed. There's not as many.
Why would you?
Many reporters out there, like good reporting.
You would really alarm a lot of people if everybody was under this idea that at any moment they can just go up in flames.
True. That's a fair point.
Because then they'd be like, what are we supposed to do? Where's the vaccine?
Right. How is this going to save us?
Yeah.
I don't know, your immune system. I mean, we're going to die anyways. I'm not going to live my life in fear. That's just how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, about anything, really. I'm just here to do me, man. Do me, enjoy life.
I'm here to do you too.
Whoa, hey. Sounds like a good time.
It looks like you lost some weight.
Fucking
Maybe I'll do it with my eyes open. What?
What? What? Watch out, I may spontaneously combust.
I'm combusting. I'm gonna combust. Combust a nut.
If I must. Oh, I didn't know it.
Oh, man.
Oh, and if anybody would like to know, the whiskey that I'm drinking tonight is a fantastic sampling of umiki. It is a Japanese whiskey that has been fused with the water of
Virgins.
The ocean. The water of virgins. Jeez. All right. Adrenochrome called it. Calm down. No, it is fused with the whiskey and water of Japan, which is the first ocean water whiskey. Anyways, it's really good. If you like Scotch and whiskey, highly recommend it.
I think you should get like a different bottle of whiskey every show. Taste
And
it,
just say what it is.
Yeah, taste it, sample it, and then give your recommendations.
Well,
smash or pass.
Oh, smash! This is good. So I'm using my Glencairn glass. I wish I had my other one, but this one won't work. It looks almost like a fire lamp, right? Almost looks like a lamp.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to help push down the alcohol smell and bring out more of the flavors and notes of the.
Nice.
Got some slight caramel. Little bit of vanilla. It's really spicy and smoky, though. It's really nice.
You're so stuck up.
It's not stuck up. I just know what tastes and smells are. Jeez, man. You should hear my boss, Connor. He's amazing. He's a sommelier. I don't know if you know what that is. But he is able to just pick out, like, smells from wines and, like, what they are. Like, I didn't know this, but there's a wine, apparently. Like, there's wines that smell like dirty gym bags. Like, they have, like, subtle notes of that. And I'm like, that's just weird. Why would you want to drink a wine that smells like that?
I don't care for wine or anything.
I'm not a big fan of wine either.
I'm not a snob.
I'm a whiskey guy.
Yeah. I get that. I mean,
but I wouldn't say I'm a snob either. Jeez, man, calm down. Gosh, I'm so offended.
I'm sorry. Don't shoot me.
Let me go take classes on how to be less offended. Jeez.
It's called. I'm not gonna say it. I'll say it off air.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good, man. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us.
I'm gonna say it. It's called gender studies.
Oh. In Iran? Yes. So much I want to say about Iran, but I don't want to get banned off YouTube.
We got to pick our topic for next week.
Yes, we do. What are we going to do? I got my sheet right here in front of me.
What are we going to do?
All right.
Okay, our one viewer, if you have any ideas, you're more than welcome to throw them in here.
Probably bored out of their mind.
Because we appreciate you sticking with us this long.
Absolutely. We'll get more people. I'm really not concerned about that. I'm just having fun with it. That's what matters.
I'm good with it because people are watching this after the fact.
Yeah, we're getting more and more views. Like
that's bueno. So.
But eventually, I really think we should put like audios on different like platforms to get us out there more.
Oh, we will.
Like even though I know that's not like I don't know if we can necessarily get paid for that, but we could do like snippets. We could put snippets out there and then get people to the video and get paid more for the video. Maybe. I don't know.
Or something like that.
All right, so I'll start just listing off, and any of these sound good. Denver Airport, flight MH370 of Malaysia, Amelia Earhart, Bermuda Triangle, 9/11. Maybe. Bilderberg Group, Catholic Church, Roswell, Crop Circles, that's always a good one. Men in Black, moon landings, Hollow. Ooh, I'm really liking Men in Black, but we should
I
save
am
that.
too.
Huh?
I am too.
What?
Here comes the Men in Black, yo.
That's a good movie.
I think we should do that one.
You want to do the Men in Black?
Let's do the Men in Black.
All right, let's do the Men in Black. I was thinking to save it for October, but nah. Let's just October. We can do like witches and ghosts,
Black-eyed kids.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. Very intense, like maybe some good.
I've got
possession stuff, like creepy stuff.
I've got a really good story for the Men in Black to tell for next
Sick.
week.
All right, let's do Men in Black then. I'm probably gonna watch the movie Men in Black just to get me ready for this. It'll be fantastic.
Right. That's what you need. So,
whatever helps you sleep at night.
Yeah. Make sure you watch The Smoking Gun.
Smoking Gun. Smoking Gun
tonight if you can.
The Smoking Gun.
JFK. The Smoking Gun.
The Smoking Gun. Okay, I will watch that tonight because that does sound very intriguing.
It is. You'll like it. You'll thank me for it later. If you hadn't already seen it.
Yeah, I might have, but not quite sure. Yeah.
So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. We appreciate it. For those of you that have been watching after this is aired, we appreciate you as well. Yes. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're new here, hit the like button and the bell to get notifications for when we do go live or when we post videos on this channel. Outside of that, I mean, is there anything else we need to plug?
No, that's it. Just like, subscribe, share with your friends. Please talk about us.
Yeah.
We love talking with you. Please talk with us.
Be sure to go through all the videos and press the like button because the more likes we get on these videos, it helps our algorithm. We get out there more. And the more people that join us, the more we can interact with you. So
yes, 100%.
All right, guys. You all have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great night, everybody.